Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Guide Through Grief. I'm your host, your guide, Tom Van Ness, and we're going to finish up a conversation we had about the similarities of the aspects that we had three widowers in the room that lived in the same town that have some kids, and that's where the similarities kind of stopped. And we just thought this was a great opportunity to sit down and talk about some of those differences, some of those perceptions. Children, I think at the time, we look at the age of our children from the time we were lost, they were anywhere from 2 to 20, in those wheelhouses. So just a whole array of discussions that we found in the first discussion, and it just was so good that we needed to continue that, needed more time. But we go any further, let's reintroduce those dads that are here with me today that are helping me in this conversation, in case you didn't listen to the first episode and you decided to jump in here. Guys, why don't you introduce yourself and give just a quick reminder of who you are, your bride, a little bit of her story, and your children.
Mike Tewksbury. Lost my wife just a little over 3 years ago. Her name was Marcy. I have 4 children, ranging in age from, we're at the end of birthday season, so it's 14 to 27. That's correct.
Oh.
Takes a while sometimes to do all that math. Lost her very unexpectedly. Miss her every day.
Shane?
Yeah. Shane McCafferty, lost Taylor a little over 3 years ago. I have 2 young kids at the time, one that was almost 2 and the other one was 4. So now we're at 5 and 7. And, they miss their mom every day, and as do I. And this journey, this part of our life brought us back to the, small community of Morton. And that's where I've met these guys that have kind of in different ways helped us all, fly down this path. So,
Guys, thanks for the reminder to our viewers and our listeners of a little bit of the background, and to remind our viewers and listeners, my boys, Leslie passed away. It was a little over 2 years ago now. So the boys were 9 and 7. So that gives us range 2 to 24 is what our children were. All unexpectedly, all kind of being in a scenario. So thanks again for all of the stories and the feelings and the emotions we're going to share today. We really hope this shows that there's 3 completely different approaches to grief and how we've handled parenting and ourselves. And one thing where we're wrapping up the last episode, I just think was, I think a really beautiful conversation we had was about the wedding rings, because we were all at a little bit different timing of them. And, I think just as a little reminder, Mike, it was just relatively newer for you.
Yeah.
And it was just a real moment. How has that been going? How is that? Have you been going back and forth?
I miss my fidget.
Yeah.
I've realized that I use it as a fidget a lot.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, every once in a while I do this and I'm like, wait,
yeah,
I know where it is.
Yeah. I still sit there and rub my ring finger a lot, even though it's not there.
I still have a married person would look and be like, oh, he's still married. What's that guy trying?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. I remember that feeling.
Still looks like it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh man. I didn't even, so, I guess I don't remember that being around. Like my ring was so loose though. Like it was oversized just because I got mine bigger because my hand swelled up and down so much.
When we got married, it was loose.
Oh.
No, it was.
Be gentle to yourself.
It was. But I've also lost weight recently, so
yeah.
It's
all part of the journey, isn't it?
Which is actually part of the reason why I took it off.
Mm-hmm.
because it was getting loose, and I'm like, I'm gonna drop it somewhere.
You don't want to lose
then
it.
I'm gonna feel bad that I've lost it. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Just put it away.
Yeah. And I think there'll be a topic on some of these other things, or one, if we remember and have time, we should bring up and talk about some of those other things that might sit around the house that, do we have a plan for them? Do you just kind of hold on to them?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can handle it. So, but let's pick up and talk a little bit uh, into, Shane, some of the conversations and discussions you wanted to bring to the table. Um, I think we were talking a little bit, or getting ready to talk about the good cop, bad cop
Mm-hmm.
part of it. I don't think we were quite getting into that part. You shared the story of going on the field trip, and I think for all of us, we found out what jobs to society they feel the mom fills in for. Like, as some people might say, like the gender role in parenting for the mom is to do this, this, and this, and the gender role for the father is to go help play catch and build the tree house and play the bad cop.
And a different appreciation for single parenting.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And I think that's,
I mean, that's a big part of it, I think.
yeah. And I think it's understanding, like, when you don't have the other,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think even I come from a divorced family where I think my parents were on the front end of co-parenting. In a divorce, like, where even though there was a divorce, there was a really amicable way to raise your children and communicate groundings and punishments and help on this kind of communication, that kind of communication. I think it's very much more traditional to have co-parenting roles in the divorce, aspect today. That's not even, not to compare, but there's no other help.
Right.
There's just no one to balance that support, and that kind of gets into the good cop, bad cop, conversation of, how, I don't know. I mean, in my head, I know what you mean, Shane, but why don't you pick up the conversation and talk a little bit about, those scenarios of playing good cop, bad cop, the parts of it that really bother you that you think are worth sharing and letting the parents out there know, especially I think the parents who have lost a child and have other children to raise,
Mm-hmm.
spouses, widows or widowers that are left with children to raise. I think there's that good cop, bad cop scenario and even in divorce grief and in that aspect. I think there's some applicable parts of this conversation that are going to apply. So explain your view of it.
Yeah, I mean, just with kids, as young as mine are, I mean, I understand, discipline and being an active parent are not going away anytime soon. But in this role where there's probably age where they need more coddling and stuff, it's when they've disappointed you or have not obeyed or have not done what they are supposed to do, and it can be as little as brushing the teeth when you ask and stuff like that. But it just really was something that I've struggled with, and I feel like I've gotten better with. But just understanding, okay, like I have to discipline them, but then they're also at the age where I also have to come back right back and you know build them back up or coddle them, and that it would be something as easy as before to just go into it. They'd go to another room and get a hug from mom or vice versa. But here, I'm the one that they go to, and it may just be on the other side of the kitchen counter or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right away. And it's it, it's allowed me. I mean, it's okay, right? Like as a parent, I mean, I was disciplined. You know, we had rules and expectations growing up, and if you didn't abide by those, there were consequences for
Mm-hmm.
your actions. So I don't feel like I run an overly strict house, but there's times where there are consequences. We've that's something that how Tay and I wanted to parent, so I want to keep that. I don't want it to be a situation where they have free reign just because they lost their mother. I don't think that's going to help them in the long term. And, as they grow and have more temptation or more freedom just based on their age. But another aspect of it really, and this maybe my situation being a little bit different when we came to Morton, I had a lot of family here. And at the kids would, at just being the age they were, would act out or whatever. And it was really another thing where I kind of told some of the family that would be watching them, or if we were in a situation where all the family was together, I was like, let me be the disciplinarian, because at this point in their life, they need to be built up. They need
Mm-hmm.
they need all the unconditional love they can get, because they've
Right.
lost it from their mother. They lost it in losing their grandmother, one of their Lolly, 100 days before that. So I was like, let me handle, when they're not acting right. But I don't need, grandma and or my mother or Tay's aunts to really step in and be disciplinarians at that time. So it's been a journey. There's no right answer to like many of these things, and what happens, one day may be the right way to do it, and what happens the second, the next day or the next week may feel completely different. I mean, I think the key is you kind of have to, what feels right in your heart, and you know, no one's it's your child, it's your kid at the end of the day. I mean, you've got to do what you feel best for them, and I think if we stay with our solid moral compass and everything like that, I don't see lines being crossed, or
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of more probably an emotional tie to me of, oh man, I feel bad that I got upset.
Sure. Yeah.
But then, okay, it's okay to get upset with them and then sit on the couch with them and, you know, watch a show and cuddle them or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever fits right then. So it's a journey. It's something that's, ever, ever evolving. And I know that, as they continue to grow, it's going to be another challenge, at each step of the way.
So, um, Mike, I want to come back to you, but before that, I made a couple notes on what you said, because you made some awesome points, and I think they're worth some reinforcing. So we'll kind of start with the last point I wrote down and work our way backwards. Okay.
Got it.
Um, working with family
Mm-hmm.
in that bad cop, good cop scenario is so tricky.
Yep.
And I think it's one I think I'm just, I guess I'll say waking up to, because I think I was just happy that everyone was kind of doing their part of keeping them moving forward.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily bother if it aligned with what I wanted to be done in the larger picture of things, because there's still lots of time,
Right.
and there still is, but ultimately, like, I had bigger fish to fry, and I trust very much my mom, my dad, my stepmom, Leslie's parents, the family members I put in front of the boys and the boys with. I have all the trust in the world in having that. But now, as they are aging and growing up, and their mind is starting to develop, and they're starting to grow up, I have more goals and aspirations for them and how I want to raise them as a father. So I think a great, when I heard you say that, I think a great way, and I'll even try it myself before this airs. um,
You have to do a
in a
follow-up.
positive way, is talking about reinforcing my goals as a family.
With your family.
With my family
Sure,
and Leslie's
okay.
family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talking to them about, will you help me reinforce the goals I have for our family?
Right.
And a couple ways that looks like is, and we're able to draw up those boundaries
Sure.
of, you know, that leaves the door open for you to have the conversation about anything. You know, about the silly things from like bedtimes, what the diet should be, or the friends they should play with. You know, there's pools in our neighborhood. You know,
Mm,
the grandparents asked, "Are you okay with them swimming in the neighborhood pools?" You know, or how does that need to be? Do we need to be up there and go with them? And so I love the fact that they ask those questions. There's some they don't, and they just take the liberty at. And those are the ones I want to have shifts. So I think being able to, um, you know, hopefully the dynamic is okay and strong and healthy enough with those of your family members you're with and you have involved with your children's life. But I think talking to them about helping reinforce the goals as a family that they're going to understand, right? That this is a universal kind of approach. So I really liked what you said of
Yeah.
like trying to ask, like, love them, let me play that disciplinary
right.
role, you know, because that's what they can do to help reinforce your goals for the
Right.
kids, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really great way. That's just, I think, another way I wanted to share to say it. So you and Tay had rules and consequences set up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
how it was, you know, kind of even building on your last point, right? Like if you ask your parents, you know, to help reinforce
mhm.
some of these goals you have for your family, where did those goals come from?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of them that are, it's
yep,
how I was raised, right?
yep.
Or how
Right.
she was raised, you know, for different aspects of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think we, you know,
We
Well,
don't.
and my point is, so like, there's certain rules, and this is one where the differences of ages of our kids is
yeah,
really a big part of the
Very big
conversation. Okay,
difference. Yeah.
so follow with me, viewers and listeners, as we're, because right now I'm just talking to Shane. Like, go back to when your kids were 2 and 5,
yeah.
2 and 4.
I mean, when when
Yeah,
everything happened,
like
right?
like you don't have like. Do you know what I just came across yesterday? Like,
Yeah.
so this
Right.
isn't a rule you and Tay had set up
Right,
yet. I can tell you. Ready?
right.
Like, Sterling's texting girls.
Yeah, Bradley's not
He's
gonna be
11,
yeah.
y'all.
Right.
Like, I just found his iPad. Like, I was home working from home. I started hearing this ringing. I'm like, what is that? What's that ringing? My phone's not ringing. My watch isn't ringing. It's his iPad. And this girl is FaceTiming him. I did, Leslie and I never talked about that.
Yeah,
I didn't have that rule set up. So I guess my point is, like, on top of what we just talked about, like you said, like, there's going to be new rules. There's going to be new things that you and Tay never talked about. So I just, where do you find the confidence in developing those new boundaries and rules for your kids when it comes up across that kind of stuff? And Mike, same to you on that question, but I think that's something you really got to think about. That's something I've struggled with because of the ages of my kids and as we grow up. Like, Leslie was our compass on how we should parent our kids.
yeah. That's similar dynamic in or was in my house, and it was.
Certainly. Yeah.
I don't, you know, it's something I'm struggling with as they, you know, next year they'll both be in, you know, same school in the same elementary school, and that'll be, you know, another set of, and and where do, you know, what are the leniencies on, you know, when they go to friends' houses and stuff like that in our neighborhood. I mean, it's all those little things, and I mean, I think there's a little bit of, you know, you're taking from what you have done, what you think would have been the answer from Tay, or, you know, your missing spouse, and then you know, it goes back to, okay, I feel like this is a good thing, but maybe it's not the right, you know, I probably err on the side of caution
Mm-hmm.
at where I am now, but it's probably, you know, it's not set in stone. I can make a different decision tomorrow, and just allowing myself, I think, goes back to going walking down the street. You gotta allow yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's if you try and dissect every single decision that's made about the children or any kind of dynamic, I mean, you'll drive yourself crazy.
And
And
like
I'm,
you had teenagers,
Yeah.
like
and I'm careful in all situations to not play the your mother would have card.
100%.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, your mother would be disappointed in you.
I
Yeah.
always use it on the proud side. Oh, your
Or-
mom would
Yeah.
be so
Well,
proud
right.
of you. I'm
Yes,
so
yes.
proud
But
of how you handle it. Yeah.
I even try and avoid that because not in all situations, but it's really easy, even though they're not here, to make them the other cop.
yeah.
Oh, I get your point. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the good cop right now. Mom's going to be the bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to be we're going to flip the roles.
Yeah, it's almost
I
like
mean,
you're putting words in there.
Right. So
in your,
I'm
in
really
your
careful
spouse's
in
mouth.
all of those situations to not play your mother. If there's something I really need to reinforce, I try and make it we.
Mm-hmm.
This is an important moral, this is where we stand on this. Or if it's really just me, it's me.
Right.
But I really try and not
Yeah.
play the dead mom card.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and that's a great point because I mean, first off, I know I've done it. I don't do it
yeah.
all the time, but I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure all three of us can sit here and
Absolutely.
say, yeah, I remember one time I said that, or a couple times I've said that, and you kind of kick yourself after because just like we've all known, like that, I get so mad at myself the times I have said that because of the shame that
Sure.
throws on our kids. You
Yeah.
know, like
Mhm.
they already miss their mom and love their mom, and now they feel bad they've let her down and she's not
Exactly.
here.
Yeah,
Like,
to even defend her, and you
Yeah.
know what? She might have really been let down.
Yeah,
You
but
can't
it-
even
but it-
apologize to mom.
but she would have said that. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not our job
Yeah,
to say that,
100%.
know?
Yeah.
And that's, once again, I've done that on the good and the bad side. So no one's perfect here. There's some moments where the boys have just been completely back guano crazy here, and I was like, your mom would be so upset with the way you're acting right now. And then I just kind of stop.
Whoop.
Yeah, I just kind of stop and I say, can you guys just calm down for me, please?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
just need a moment here of some peace or doing what you ask. And I think we never mean to say those things, but they do come up, and don't feel
They
bad
do.
about saying it. But I think that all comes in, I think, pressure we take as parents when our children are going into a new phase of childhood and teenagers and high school graduates and so on and so forth, and how we construct those new rules and boundaries for them. And that goes into the very first point you made that I think is, I remember Leslie always, I wanted to go to battle on every little
Yeah.
thing. That was the bad cop, and Leslie was the good cop in a lot of that, but she would always say, man, be careful, like, pick your battles.
Yeah.
And for me now, it's controlling like, so much uncontrollable has happened here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of losing Leslie, losing the ability to raise our family the way we always talked about and dreamed about, that I'm going to go and control every little thing that I can.
Yeah.
And that's probably my biggest battle that I really shouldn't pick. Is
You're
not-
saying that you want to fight all the little battles? That's
Normally-
where your typical.
I'm trying to back off and not
Sure,
like,
okay.
like the boys like leave. I'm trying to have the boys help out around the house, like with dishes, or taking out the garbage and replacing garbage bags. Some of those very easy, subtle things. And I'll ask them and they forget. And then I'll just get like really frustrated with them when they forget. Like, okay, dude, it's the dishes, Tom. Like,
Yeah.
they got to grow into this. This is okay. That's a battle I need to like not get anxious about or upset about, because they're dishes. They're 11 and 9. They'll get there eventually one day.
See, I
Like,
tend to lot.
Worry about him texting the girls.
Yeah, exactly. I tend to. I think that I very much embraced the bad cop role, to the point that every single little thing needed a bad cop involved.
Mhm.
You
And that's the control we want
Right.
after losing everything.
that was while Marcy was alive. I think that
Mhm.
after she passed, I've probably tended a little more the other way.
Okay.
Not in everything. I mean, I still have my bad cop moments, but I think that um, I have found it easier to let a lot of the things that I may have thrown a fit about, maybe not totally slide, but at least um, I can give myself enough pause to say, is this really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Not every time. I still have my moments.
Yeah.
Um, one of my kids is in band. There was he has practiced tons in the last year and a half. Why in the last year and a half? He's a senior. He's graduated now. He chose this time to start practicing multiple instruments. He's taught himself how to play other instruments. And there have been times that he's been practicing, and I'm like, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I would have been like, dude, come on, the noise, stop. And now it's like, hey, okay, he's practicing. Um, early on after Marcy passed, one of the other kids would be like, I wish he'd just stop. He's making too much noise. And I'm like, you know what? We just let it go because it's just not worth it.
Part of
He,
the chaos.
he's in his room. The door is shut. It really can't get any quieter unless we put him in a soundproof room. So
Right.
we are where we are. So I have found that not in all things, but in a lot of things, I tend to let some of the minutia that I might have really let bother the ever living snot out of me slide.
I need to have lunch with you more often to get there because I struggle.
Oh, it wasn't easy.
I'm still on the battling
I
everything
want to say it
front.
wasn't easy, but it's what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
My kids didn't deserve that. There was no longer a good cop to say, dad's being unreasonable or dad's losing his mind or,
Yeah.
dad's
And
being dad again.
And I circle back with my kids. I mean, in those
Sure.
moments of uncool, like I think that's one of the things my therapist always applauds me on is as parents, no matter if we still have our spouse with us or not, and whether it's with our partner or with our children, to circle back around when we make that mistake. And
Sure.
I think my boys are very understanding at their age. And I've explained to them how, Tay was really stressful because of this or that. And they've at times asked me why I've been crying, and it's because of a song, and tell them why, and things along those reasons. And now they have a better understanding of knowing that's maybe not, they know that's not dad's place. And they understand those moments of where
Yeah.
the bad cop steps in, more than he intended to. But
Well, and I think generationally, I mean, not that we are different generations, but um, dads, our generation of dads,
mm-hmm.
play a lot bigger role than our parents did.
Absolutely.
And I think as part of that, um, it's okay to be fallible sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say, hey, I screwed up. I made a mistake. And I think it's important for our kids to know that that's okay.
Yes.
Not only do I make mistakes, you make mistakes. It's okay to admit them.
Yeah.
And say, let's do better next time.
Still love you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My latest saying is I love you more today than I did yesterday. And that's every day.
Yeah.
Every day I'm loving you more and more.
Yeah.
No matter what you've done and the things we've gone through, I am finding ways to love you more every day. And it is incredible because I thought I loved you more than humanly possible.
Yeah.
It's conversations
Sure.
like that I think, really are the great
Yeah.
ways to help reinforce, our kids in those good cop, bad cop scenarios when we have to play the side we don't want to play.
Yeah.
Anything else on that topic before we move on? Because we have.
One thing I heard Mike say, and I think is along the line of the your mom would be so proud of you or whatever. I've been fortunate that in our situation, when we are, like daughter's got a dance recital coming up, or
Mhm.
how she does at school, or even son pre-K graduation and stuff like that. And I say that, and then the family that's around also then says, "Hey, would be proud of you."
Yeah.
And I think part of that
Sure.
is there's a lot that we do that probably because we're already thinking about the next
Yeah,
thing on the checklist or next
Yeah.
calendar event, that we probably don't sit down and give ourselves
that's true.
enough praise.
I think you're
And
right.
so it's been nice having those folks in the community, and whether it's family or friends and stuff like that, it does give you a little pat on the back and say, okay, these decisions that I'm making, that I'm good cop, bad copying myself, are appearing to do well, because they are the
Doing
kids are
something
they're
right.
the kids are moving forward on a good trajectory. So
Well, and I
it-
think that was one of the other points we talked about, and I'll jump to that one, and then we'll get back in line. But we hear a lot of things having to parent as a widow or widower, about how at at times it's nice to hear the like, oh man, great job getting them ready, and
right,
this and that. But then there's things said, I don't want to call it unnecessary praise,
right,
but
Yeah.
I don't have um dads dads aren't meant to stay home with their kids all day,
right,
Right.
or dads aren't meant to get their daughters ready for dance recitals,
right.
you know but you do it so well, like you don't
Yeah.
need to like,
Yeah,
they're trying to come out of a nice place, but man, I think that's what makes taking in that praise hard, and why, at least as a dad, I have found times why it's really easy to jump to the next thing on the checklist.
yeah.
Because if I start getting to the next one, I'll just like
It's
uh,
survival. I
yeah,
mean,
it's sort of like they can pay attention to the boys, be happy with the boys. Like I'm
Yeah.
like I probably one of the biggest moments that happened for me. It had nothing to do with parenting, more or less, but just the other weekend I was out in South Carolina with Leslie's family, and the boys couldn't go, but there was a niece going through graduation, and a really close cousin of Leslie's daughter. So I went out and got to be around all the family, and there was a moment where I just started like taking all these pictures of all the family members post graduation, and like calling up families at a time. All right, this group in, that group in. So, and everyone was really happy someone was taking control,
yeah,
And I was like, all right, one last picture. All the family get in. Come on, get in, squeeze in. And then like a couple of the family members said, Tom, your family, get in
Oh,
here.
right. Yeah.
And then they got someone walking by to take my phone to take that picture of all of the family and like kind of pull you in.
Yeah.
There's no great job in that. There's no, you did so well. It was just your family. In a moment you're just trying to show up, you know.
I had a similar, again, this is off topic. I had a similar moment. It's been a little while. I was wrestling with the um, in-laws thing, right? I mean,
Mhm.
really, I'm not married to your sister child any longer. So as far as the law is concerned, we are nothing other than friends. You are the parents and aunts and uncles of my children, but you and I don't really have a legal definition. I don't
Mhm.
feel differently. I mean, my mother-in-law is still my mother-in-law. My brothers-in-law are still my brothers-in-law. My nieces and nephews are still my nieces and nephews, but I was really wrestling with that. And my mother-in-law happened to be at the house one day and I said something, about, technically we're nothing. And she said, "Oh no.
Mhm.
Oh no. You are my son-in-law and you will always be my son."
Mhm. Yeah. It's
And she even sent me a card later to reinforce that no, you're not getting out that easy, man. And it's not that I wanted out, but it was a thing that I was wrestling with.
yeah. And I think this is one of those things where everyone takes them a little bit differently. I think Shane, your conversation with you and I one day at lunch or somewhere was like the social media comments.
Sure.
You know, so like we post a picture of somewhere with our kids, doing something with our kids for our kids. And everyone's really nice about it and sweet about it, but some of the comments are like, I can't believe you're able to do all this. You're so amazing. Like, I'm just showing up. Like
Yeah.
like, I
This
mean,
is an easy one.
yeah. And it's like, it's nice that it's recognized and I appreciate that, you know, but it's like, I don't know, like, and sometimes it's just the bad day, you know, would you say that to a married couple
Right.
who posted
No,
a picture of like the four of you, like at an Easter egg hunt with everyone in matching clothes?
Right.
Great job, mom and dad, for doing so. You know, it's like,
You did it.
yeah. You know, it's like, I know once again, people are trying to be nice and supportive and, you know, like,
Sometimes it feels disingenuous.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
like I
that's
just
not fair.
use Facebook like for the boys stuff and the progress of things they're doing because we live hours away from all family and friends that we grew up with.
I don't do that well.
And I constantly like,
Yeah.
it's honestly my defense mechanism from having to field phone calls. Like if I stay active on that and keep posting pictures about what the boys and I are doing, I hope it blocks a few phone calls from like, Tom, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
You know,
Do you really want the answer?
yeah, like I could hide some good shit behind a
Yeah.
post and a picture.
That's right.
You know, and that's
No,
probably
actually, I am not well.
yeah,
But
and
check out this picture.
and that's probably why some of the comments hurt, you know, to be
Yeah.
honest, because they say how great you're doing, they say how wonderful you look and all this, and you feel like crap.
Yeah.
It's rare that you give yourself the grace to say, "Oh, I did that."
Yeah. Yeah, to your
It's-
point,
'cause-
Shane. Yeah, we
'cause
just
it's
don't give ourselves to
usually-
sit down and
Yeah, it's
take it in.
usually, and I am failing at literally every single aspect of everything I'm doing today. Whether it's for my kids, whether it's for me, whether it's for someone else, whether it's for church, whether it's for work, I didn't hit it on the nail at all today.
yeah.
And I think as men, it's not something we do easily to start with. As widowers / single parents, it heaps a different level of we're failing on top of that. I mean, I think that, I mean, you look at single mothers, and for whatever the reason is, I've always had an appreciation for that, but I have a very different appreciation for single parenting now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if mom or dad.
right?
Like,
No, I
like,
mean,
it's tough.
We for a long time, single parents got a bad rap, and they still do. But regardless of why you're a single parent, you're just doing your best. And
Right.
and I think when you aren't a single parent, and I'm guilty, you know, it's easy to say, oh well, how dare you did this or that, or why are you doing this or that this way or that way? It's because it's what I got to do today.
Mad props to you guys for having daughters, because I think that is I, I I will take
I-
two. I'll take two boys, and that like I love you dudes, and if I can ever be a sounding board or some help, like please know I take notes from single parents with daughters and
there
and
are some
boys
things
or
you will
so-
never have to go through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are
that I have had to go through as a single dad.
Yep.
And it
braiding
was,
hair scares the hell out of me
and-
alone. So
and even though
that's-
you know it's coming, when it comes, you're like, what? Huh? What? No, not to what? Today? For real? No, can't be.
so going back a little bit on our list, I don't think we talked a lot about celebrating milestones in the first half of our conversation. I know that was another piece you brought up, Shane. You know, because all three of us really just kind of got out of birthday season, some holiday
Yeah.
seasons, some milestones. I know we kind of talked about it briefly, but um, what about with celebrating milestones? Have you found, you know, is there a certain milestone, like a birthday, an anniversary, or is it accomplishments with kids growing up? What about celebrating milestones is different, difficult,
Yeah,
worth sharing?
All of it.
yeah, all of it. I mean, I think when I think back on kind of my journey, as far as for the milestones for the kids and stuff like that, um, the struggle is that was something that Tay would plan. Whether it's birthdays or birthday parties or what are we doing? What's the appropriate, you know, uh, gift or whatever for whatever they've completed. Um, and so now it's like, well, if there's going to be a birthday party, I need to kind of think of some ideas or whatever, budget, all that stuff. Whereas before it would just be like, hey, this is what I was thinking about doing. How do you feel about that? And we'd have conversation, maybe what do you think about this? It was open dialogue, but now the open dialogues with myself.
Right.
And I do have,
What am I going to do today?
I have tremendous help in my sister-in-laws and my um my side of the family, my parents, my brother, my father-in-law. So there is a sounding board there, but there's some of these things that you're just like, well, you just plan it yourself, right? It's your kid, you should be able to handle it. So that's just been difficult and kind of what's too big, what's too small. I always feel like I maybe sometimes try to overcompensate for the fact that
Sure.
their mom's not
Mhm.
here, so it's like, hey, let's blow out this 5-year-old birthday party. Let's do it big. Let's do it
We're
big.
going
It's
to have
like
the ponies and the elephants and the
Yeah.
giraffes all here.
when in
Mhm.
reality, it's like he just wants to be around his friends. He
Yeah.
wants to have a cake and he wants to
Mm.
open some presents. So
Lots of presents.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It could be like it could be a pins, wrapped up. But I think then for switch gears to the milestones for me, thinking of even a little bit using that word is the anniversaries of of the death or our anniversary or birthdays and stuff. I think the first year I knew it was going to be really hard, and that was survival was the first of everything, right? And going through that, the
Mhm.
second year, it's going to be hard. You think it's going to let up a little bit, but it really doesn't, and it hits you in a different way.
It changes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's an aspect of it that we've built our guard up in some way, or we've prepared. Like, oh, I know what happened in year 1, year 2. I'm ready for that.
Mhm.
But you didn't get the scouting report on year 3.
That's right. Yeah.
And they just like zone blitz you or something.
Yeah.
In
That's
it.
it. You think I'm ready. I got this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something happens that day or leading up to or coming out of, and you're like, did not expect that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you say it an interesting way, because how many podcasts and books have you guys listened to where they talk about like year 1 or year 2, one of those years is going to be harder,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
hardest.
All of them.
But like, there's not a lot of stuff after you get past year 2 that's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like some of the podcasts I listened to that weren't clinical, because once again, one reason I wanted to do this, because there wasn't a lot from non-clinical conversations going on, and the ones that were non-clinical lasted 1 or 2 seasons, and then
Yeah.
the host met someone new, got married, and that was the end of the show.
Sure.
Right.
That's part of the journey too.
Right.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was their season.
Yeah. Yeah, and they put some stuff out there
Right.
that helps, but it
Sure.
was just interesting how, as far as the milestones, and maybe in year 3, I guess what I'm trying to think is there maybe not, thinking out loud here, so I'm sorry if I backtrack it one day, but year 3 might as well just be like year 10, because there's no finish line
Sure.
Yeah.
to grief, and it's not that we're more used to it when we go into year 3, but you are well versed for battle. You are, think of the movie Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
There was one of those rangers who would just always go back, reload up, and be, on the next convoy going in to go to battle. And, as widows and widowers, when you get into year 3, anniversaries are going to be tough. Birthdays are going to be tough. The milestones that kids continue to grow in and through are going to be tough. And we know that we are going to have to continue to show up for ourselves without the support or recognition or whatever, that we constantly battle with, because they're different with everyone. So it's not that there's no playbook after year 2, but it's weird that there's
I
not
think
a lot
that
of
was a great analogy.
Oh yeah. It was like someone
hey,
just forgot that it was like, we're going to play a half of a football game.
Yeah.
And I think what's not talked about a lot in grief is, like, once you get through like the initial shock, the survival mode, there's there's a whole lot that just isn't talked about.
And that goes on for a lot longer than you think it's going to.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'd say it fortunately, unfortunately. I mean, my grandmother, my mom lost her dad when she was 12 or so. And, after, I had never really heard her say it, but after Tay passed and was asking, at Christmas or something, I think it was the first one, how are you doing? And, this isn't that fun, but she even made the comment, it's a date I've never really enjoyed, and I haven't for 50 years. And so at least, I mean, learning from other people's experiences, right? Like, to your point about year 3, year 10, what's year 25 going to look like? It's probably going to feel a lot like 3.
Yeah.
Or 10, or, it's.
I wonder if I don't buy, this is silly, when I go to the grocery store, when it's approaching April, because her passing was on April 10th.
Right.
Like, when I get to the milk and the eggs and things with expiration dates, I get really careful, because I don't want I don't want those expiration dates. I don't want that date sitting around in my house.
That's funny. I mean, I understand it, but I would walk into the grocery. I need milk. Oh, yep, it's the farthest out date. Yep, I got it. It's mine.
No, I look at the expiration date, and if it has like 4/10, it doesn't get bought. I don't know if I'll still feel that way in year 5 or 10. Like, I mean, if something comes across and I get it, like, it's not like I throw it away or try to give it away, but like it's something like that date 4/10, like, just
that's the thing, right? I mean, I can be at work doing something, and it's like, a milestone for a project I'm working on or something is May 17th, and it's like, sucks.
Yeah.
That's really no fun.
Well,
I think too, a way that I've handled that is like, I there were times where people would be like, "Oh, are you taking 323 off the first year?" I'm like, no, I want to try to work a little bit. Like, I made sure I didn't have a heavy work day, but like, because I knew I'd be griefy, but it was like, at some point, maybe something big happens positive on this day, and and the reality is so many days are hard. How I handle it, I don't do well circling it weeks out and being like, ooh, what are we gonna, how do we skip? How do we skip that day? How do we skip 3/14, our anniversary? How do we skip 9/7, her birthday? Stuff like that. I obviously know they're coming, and they always hurt worse than I expect them to, but I try to keep them as normal as they can be.
I had forgotten that all of our wives passed away in the year so close together. I mean,
yeah, because it was 2022 or 2023
for me.
For all 3 of us.
It was 22. It was May 17th, 22 for me.
I was April 23.
But within what, a 3-month? I mean, not
even
on the calendar.
Years.
Just
April,
March, April.
Because you said end of March, right?
Yeah,
I'd forgotten that.
you said something, Shane, that made a lot of sense, and it was an episode I've already recorded. We don't know where it is going to drop. It might have already aired here in season 1, or it got tabled for 2. Um, but it was kind of talking about the spectrum of grief we travel in, of like the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say race, because there's no finish line. So that's why I kind of say it's a spectrum, because a spectrum you can kind of move
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
between phases or color tones. If you look at a color spectrum, you can kind of go
Yeah.
across. And I think we see it in the moments we celebrate that our children go through, or maybe moments we have of success in work that we would have loved to share with our spouse.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I see it even being something that we would have to really battle in relationships if we choose to date and have a significant other. And that's balancing 2 really heavy emotions at the same time,
Yeah.
that are really on opposite ends of the spectrum in grief and joy. And that is hard, I feel, for people to understand the difficulty of balancing the 2, unless you sat in the front row of the funeral.
Yeah. I mean, I just went through that 2
Right.
weekends ago. 17th was the anniversary of her death.
Mm-hmm.
The 18th was graduation for my son.
And so you sit there and we learn through our experiences and through our growth of the pain and all of those things, of how we can hold both a joy in our child's graduation and a sadness of, I wish they could be here to experience it, but I'm so glad I'm here to experience it with them.
And which moment in any given day, weekend, is it appropriate to outwardly show which emotion?
Yeah, because then, I mean, I'm having experiences right now where I'm starting to question myself. Oh, can I get choked up here? Like, is someone going to
Yeah.
look at me and judge me for, like, shouldn't he be getting over this? Like, is he still like upset over, like,
And you do get far enough out. I mean, there does come a point where you feel like you can't.
yeah, I hate
can't,
that.
I can't experience the negative emotion, or
Mhm.
even the I mean, sometimes it's really strangely, I'm happy because this weird thing that you all think is incredibly sad is going on, but I cannot express to you how happy this situation makes me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking of something in particular at the moment, but I know there have been times where I have thought, this is pretty cool. And I know that people around me are going, what is going on? This is not cool.
Or at least what they may not see.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the perspective I have.
Well, I will. I'll transition this into the next point Shane had, because this is definitely, I laugh because around Christmas I got new bedding
Oh,
for my bed,
oh,
like comforter, quilt,
yes.
pillowcases, like
Yes.
a bench thing.
I redid my room
Yeah,
18 months ago.
Yeah, like raise your hand. Did you not feel like that was like the coolest, most awesome thing you ever got?
And it was also
Yeah.
like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah, like it was so. But like your point was like, we get to that point as widows or
Yes.
widowers, and maybe widowers more. I don't know. Maybe that's a gender role we talk about, where maybe the female of the home feels like they're more of the decorator, the nester. We think about like when our wives were pregnant, of the nesting that goes on, leading into the birth and during the pregnancy, of preparing the nursery and having the designs and those kinds of things. There comes a time where there's going to be parts of our home where we need to remodel, refresh. Our children are going to grow up, and the cute stuffed animal room doesn't work for a 14-year-old
Not cool anymore.
or 11-year-old. And so we have to, as at least for the three of us as fathers, have to start understanding, you know, decorations, or pardon me, decor.
Yeah.
Throw pillows, color palettes,
But you don't get to do that with girls.
feng shui. Yeah, I get to go with Leslie and I designed our last two homes together. Like just like everything you guys saw in this house, Leslie and I did together. But like the bedding and but she did like the bedding, like
Right.
some of those
Yeah.
But that was a big deal. I felt like
The
that was
paint
really
on the walls and the
yeah.
furniture. Let's do that together. The bedding, it's all yours.
Well, I mean, the furniture was more like, here's what I like, or this is what I want,
Yeah.
It's like, we get it. Yeah. Okay.
This is what we're going to afford.
We don't need 3-day shipping, do we? No, but that's, Shane, we talked about how hard it is, because when we go to redecorate a bedroom or something around the house, there's some weight
Mm-hmm.
that comes with those decisions. Talk about why you wanted to talk a little bit about nesting, remodeling, decorating, and the judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because I've done a lot of it. When we moved to the house that we live in town, it was fine and everything, but there were things that I knew I wanted, and frankly, Tay would have wanted as well. But
But that was not you and Taylor's house.
no, and that was that's the other thing. I mean, different than y'all's situation.
Right.
I moved out of the house that we lived in when she passed
Sure,
away,
yeah.
so it was, in theory, it was a fresh start. I mean, a fresh start on the home we lived in, but yeah, I mean, it was even, I didn't have the whole house painted. We didn't have time for it before we moved in, but I did have the kids' rooms done, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I just at 2 and 4 said, "Here's the color palette. Pick it. What color you want in your room." So we've got a Barbie pink room and an electric blue room in our house, and it fits for right now. But I know there's going to be a time when we need to upgrade that. But I like the bedding thing was something that stuck with me because we had white bedding and she had picked it out, and it was, I don't know, she liked it for whatever reason. It was what she wanted. We also had 2 dogs. We moved here. One of the dogs felt like his way of getting into the neighborhood was starting to dig more in the backyard, and so said dog would come inside and jump right on the white.
Yep.
And after about the 4th time of cleaning the duvet cover in a week, I said, "We're done with this."
We're not having a white bed anymore.
I hate a duvet cover, man.
Yeah, I don't have one anymore.
Unbuttoning it, pulling it out, untying the cord, like that's
Yeah, no, it's brutal.
I don't know why we came up with that somewhere down the road, but anyways,
I promise you, no.
Because someone
no
decided
dad designed a duvet
Yeah,
cover.
but it was one of those things that, and it was what I would determine fairly on, and it was like, okay, I just went out and had kind of had an idea. I asked my sister-in-laws. I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, I needed to get their approval that I was moving
Right.
on from the cover." But they were like, "Yeah, those look good." And then the other thing too is I wanted it to look like it was. I don't know what the end styles are or whatever. I want it easy. I knew that.
Yeah.
So
to keep me warm at night.
yeah, it's those decisions, that you just don't have anyone to bounce it off
Yeah.
of, and maybe Mike, in your shoes, you've got older kids that might have a little bit more. But if I ask my kids, what color do we paint the walls? It's why aren't they electric green, or why aren't they're not at that age.
They're not thinking about what their mom would have picked.
Right.
And we did kind of have those conversations, but I also had a whole lot of baggage with redoing the
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Marcy always wanted to redo the bedroom. It's nothing we ever got around to doing.
Yeah.
Then it took me a while, and I decided I need to redo the bedroom.
Yeah. I
And,
heard a lot of stories that people just like,
and it took me a
Mhm.
long time. I mean, I started and I painted 2/3 of the room because I had to move everything to one side of the room so I could do the other part of the room. I painted that part of the room, bought the new bed, bought all the things, put them all in. And then I didn't finish painting for like 6 months.
yeah,
So I'm like, I still don't have closet doors on because I don't want to finish it.
feel like finishing it is a finality
Yeah.
in accepting reality.
Yeah. There are other things like that, but yeah, I mean, that is absolutely one. I mean, I have a friend who's like, "Hey, let's do these doors." I'm like, "Let's do these doors."
Yeah.
Bill next second
I
second
had an
Tuesday
hour
next week.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you when it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
let's
no, I
do
get
these. He's
that.
like, I got. I mean, we got
Yeah.
this. He's got this pile of old wood, and he was like, "Let's do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's do that sometime."
Yeah. I think there's been some of the things, like when I got my new bedding, I definitely wanted to pick something that went with our house, something that I think Leslie would have enjoyed. Like, because I didn't care about that kind of stuff
I did
before.
not.
Like, and I didn't even pay attention to it, and I appreciated it once I was married and moved in with Les. So like there was an element of like interior design and color that like made me understand how much this home felt like our home, and how special that was. And so like I redid the office upstairs where she did work out of and now where I work out of now. And so I guess I wanted to share a couple resources that I still use and have, and I think are worth sharing for maybe especially widowers out there. Um, if your wife passed away, these were a few things that I have used and kept and able was to have access to that made me understand where Leslie found some of her inspiration and some of her design efforts. And like Pinterest was one of them. So I think that's another good thing to why you want to have access to your spouse's passwords and those things, because Leslie on her Pinterest board, had everything from like kitchen designs, mudroom designs, backyard designs. Um, she even had like flower box and like flower pot designs. So like I save those, and when I plant flowers every spring around Mother's Day around our house, a bunch of different flower pots, and take care of them all year. And um, every year I go to her Pinterest board and look at some of her inspirations, and that's what I go off of. And the catalogs, I discontinued some of them. Some of them were unnecessary, but there were some of them that were really kind of cool. And I understood like she would just go through these and figure out, oh, look at this color combination, or I could see what she liked out of that catalog. And those are things I kind of keep to the side that help me when I'm ready to do something.
That also helps you keep up with the trends.
Yeah, yeah. So I say with, okay, whatever I'm going to do to my house and like spend money on my house, it's not outdated, it's
I
current.
should not paint the walls brown because
Yeah.
brown is no longer cool.
Yeah, and HGTV can be your biggest friend. There's a lot of good stuff on
There is.
those kinds of networks. So, those were a few things that I have used and found that helped me. Were there anything that you found around the house or conversations? Mike, you had a lot more time with your wife to know like what her tastes and preferences and those things were.
I have never cared enough. If she said, let's paint the walls pink and green, I would say, okay, let's paint the walls pink and green. I mean, that's not a thing that I ever really, um, I- there are some things I would be like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But as far as the design or the decor or I want it to look like this. Okay, whatever. I mean, let's figure out how we can make this work.
So you might more of just want to go to like a paint store and be like, can you show me some combinations that work well for a living room that are modern today?
I didn't.
Is that how you might? I mean, but is that maybe
Yeah,
how
I
you might
mean-
go about it? I mean, because I think there might be people out there who's like, I don't really care.
Well, when
Like I never
painted-
had those conversations with my wife. We never really cared about it.
Yeah.
Like we were about to do our first ever remodel when this happened. And now the remodel we were starting to talk about, I'm stuck. So where do I, they maybe not have money to hire an interior designer.
Well,
and
see, the
those
way
kinds of
mine went
things,
was I was at Costco one day and I saw this blanket and I was like, that looks like a comfy blanket.
Yeah.
So I bought it.
Yeah.
And I took it home and I put it on the bed and I was like, oh, that's going to look nice. Did not look nice with the like weird off-white walls that the bedroom was painted when we moved into the house and never repainted. But I'm like, can't leave this way for long because this just offends me.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, I have this really nice fuzzy blanket. How do I make the rest of the room look nice around this blanket?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where we start building our confidence as home managers, as a single adult
Sure.
in the decisions we make for ourselves, our children, our household, or for our future. It's
Yeah.
everything from the blanket we get to start the remodeling project of our room, to the things we go through in remodeling our kids' rooms, of electric blue and Barbie pink.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to kind of build on that, when we moved, there were, things like the lights on the garage lights that uh were outdated, and then like some of the chandeliers like the kitchen and then the formal dining room and stuff that I knew I didn't like them, and I knew Tay definitely wouldn't have liked them if she moved in. But I was able. I mean, I guess
Those gotta
yeah,
go.
yeah, I had enough thought, or I don't know why I thought it, but I was like, we put new garage lights on our house in Texas. Why don't I just buy those? So I ordered
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of them and put them on. And the chandeliers, one year for Mother's Day, she wanted in our office, she wanted a really bright light, and she picked out this, modern looking chandelier. So what do? Get online and order that. So it's like
the same thing.
yeah, I'll get
Yeah.
the same thing, and I'll get two of them because I got two spots for them. And so it's knowing that, and we had similar taste in decor or whatever, or maybe I just adapted to hers. I don't know,
There's probably some of that.
but it's when I moved in, I would obviously taking pictures of the house in Texas, and it's not the same style house, not the same flow and everything. But to start, I just went and put everything to match the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was probably more out of a thought of what's normal, what feels normal for the
Sure.
kids.
And
but-
that was all still really fresh for you, though.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that was,
3
I need
months.
something normal.
Yeah. But now that going forward, I've kind of gotten to the point where, yes, I think there's aspects that I always think, oh, what would Tay have done in this or whatever. But it's also like, I don't hold on to the memories of her through what my couch looks like
Right.
or how I redid this front room or what, those. Yeah, I think, oh, well, maybe what would she have done? Or, to go back to kind of using the Pinterest board analogy, like, oh, what did she mention before? Whose house were we in? And she's like, I really like that.
She'd want me to be modern.
Right, exactly.
She wouldn't care what color palette I use as long as it's modern.
Right.
Or don't buy
Yeah.
something that's 1950s when that was out 5 years ago.
Right.
Whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever
If vintage isn't in this kind of style, don't try to bring it back.
Right. You're not the
Really?
cavalier to do that.
Yeah.
That's what she would say to me.
Tom, the chain wallets aren't back in.
Yeah.
Don't wear it.
Yeah.
Why
well,
not?
Well, that's another thing
It's
too.
cool.
Talk about
fashion.
yeah.
Oh man.
I mean,
That's a struggle.
I know it's ironic we're talking here. I really struggled to lean on my mom after Leslie passed away. No BS, because I felt it was unfair. In my 40s, I had my mom to lean on when my boys never.
oh yeah.
So
Oh,
one thing,
yeah.
thing
Wow.
I did was not call and ask my mom for advice. I normally always got advice from her on. And my mom and Leslie were very fashionable people. And routinely, like when we would be on a trip somewhere and my mom would be with us, the two of them would always go out shopping, and love talking about fashion, all these things. So, I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple times where I had a shirt and tie combo, and I took a selfie and sent it to my mom, and I'm like, "Yo, is this work?"
This work?
Like, and I sit there and I hit send. I'm like, I am 42 years old,
Like-
sending a selfie to my mom about, does this combo work? You know, it's like, what else
This
do
was
we
supposed to
do?
end 20
Right.
years ago.
Yeah, like, because we may not be in a scenario where we're dating anyone and can ask for that advice, and we're not gonna like Google image picture our shirt and tie combo and ask like Chat GBT,
And you only have sons.
right?
They're going to be like, whatever, Dad. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, our kid, like Cameron will wear like the most unmatching thing
Yeah.
ever, and I'm not gonna lie, kind of looks cool on him. I'm like that. I
He
know
pulls
that
it off. Yeah.
that doesn't go anywhere in society, but you pull that off somehow. I don't
Yeah.
know, but um, yeah, fashion's right up there in that read.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's just that whole like, is this the right thing to wear?
Yeah.
And I would like, you need to buy this. It was always me that was the one going to buy it, but I think you should wear this. And it was her way of saying like,
Uh-huh.
hey, what
This
you
is
were
going to
wearing,
look nice on you.
yeah, that shirt you've been wearing, it needs to go find another home.
I'll admit I've and if Stitch Fix wants to work out a sponsorship deal, I've used Stitch Fix for like the last 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, pretty nice deal, and I've kind of been able to freshen up my wardrobe. Try it on in your house, look at it in the mirror, try it with
Take
other
the
clothes that
selfie
you
and
have.
send it to your mom.
Yeah, shh, no. Those I feel better on myself because I kind of know what I'm going with. But if let's turn this conversation a little bit more serious because I think this has been a very lighthearted, fun way to talk about some of these things we battle through.
Sure.
Um, let's talk about kind of in the remodeling phase. So I'm going to use an example because I'm sure we'll show a picture of it here for our viewers. It's like outside my bedroom door are 4 frames Leslie had on the wall. And they're kind of like family photos. And they were done 6 months before Leslie passed. Like the boys have asked, you're never going to take those pictures down, are you, Dad?
Yeah.
So I think being able to hear our children or other people that are in the house, their input is important. But I think, we've talked off camera and on camera, as time evolves and we evolve into, maybe a relationship. I think about the viewers that might be out there and you might be sitting there. So let's put me in my house and like 5 years down the road from now. And let's say I'm in a serious relationship and I've been in a serious relationship for 2 years. Once I'll, and what do you do? Like that's a conversation that
Yeah.
I think is tricky for the widow or widower and the partner, and
Sure.
I think where I sit and talk about this scenario, I still sit and think so much about the kids. So regardless if they would have said anything about the pictures or not,
Yes.
it's kind of in a like outside my bedroom
Yeah.
door is like the living room where they hang out all the time.
Right.
And they see those pictures all the time. And they always came in the bedroom to say like good morning to their mom and I.
Yeah.
So that seems like a spot, where it's okay. But like in my bedroom, I've taken some of it down.
I was gonna, I guess, get on that is like, there's some of it that I think naturally as you progress through comes down because you get tired of looking. I mean, you get it. I don't want to say you get tired of looking at it. It does more harm than it does help, and you're kind of in this regrowth, reborn, whatever you want to call it, this new life that you're leaving. It's like, okay, that maybe the wedding picture of us doesn't need to be on the wall in the bedroom.
But also, when our wives were around, there are some things like wedding pictures on the wall that probably would have been up for her, but there are other things that
would have.
you're going to rotate in and out anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think one day that those frames stay there is important, but one day I think it'll be all right that it ends up being, pictures of the boys and I like at a
Yeah.
World Series game, you know, hopefully for the Cubs one day,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, there are things in my house
Yeah, that will make that transition one day.
that
But I think
I don't.
that's
Sometimes I look at them and I go, "Oh, really needs to change," and then I
Mhm.
go,
Yeah.
"Not going to change that right now."
Yeah, it's kind of, I think where it comes down to me is what's it for the kids.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think that's where I know where my love, my honor, all of those things for Leslie sits with me.
right.
I don't need how the couch looks or
Right.
what pictures hung up or where I keep her ring or my wedding ring
Hmm.
to justify or validate the feelings I have for her.
And it's those things though that you don't think about might mean something to your children.
Right. And I think that's where the communication with your
Yeah.
children is pretty
Right. I mean,
important.
I don't know whether any of my kids have noticed whether I'm wearing the ring or not anymore.
Hmm. I bet they do.
I have to believe they do, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, there are other things around the house. I mean, there have been conversation we were having one day with my youngest. And I said something about, moving out into the country and not living in town. That's not a plan I have right now. It's a plan for some time. She's like, "Wait, you're going to sell the house I grew up in?" And I said, "That's correct."
You
She's
want to
like,
buy
you
it?
can't do that." I said, "Well, if you're old enough and you want to buy it, you can buy it from me." So, I mean, it is things like that. I mean, it's things
Yeah.
around the house where, sometimes you change something and they're like, "Well, what? You can't do that." And it's like, but I did.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it, right? I mean, that's a thing that is more or less inconsequential. But, hey, mom did that, or mom did this with that, or um, there's some memory tied to that being in that place or whatever it is that we don't have that same memory, but
Right.
the kids do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much as kids we don't know because we haven't had the.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it comes. We go through all of the experiences as we grow up, and that's what shapes the impact of the experience we go through.
Yep.
And that doesn't matter if it's death, love, joy, you know, um, every experience helps us put definition on the next one we go through. And we all sit here at an older age of having experienced the loss of other loved ones, right?
Yeah.
To help us shape and prepare our grief for a more impactful loss like our spouse. What just eats my heart up is that like our kids have such a profound experience at such a young age,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, that they weren't given the luxury of walking into grief through the experiences of like losing a dog you have around the house for 8 to 10 years and then like maybe a great aunt or uncle and then maybe a
Yeah.
grandpa, like there's just not like we're not comparing any of those. So that's not what I'm trying to say is, but
Yeah.
all of those little experiences along the way help us shape how we can experience and go through those processes. And um, I guess as we sit here and talk about everything from the fashion and the remodeling and all of those, there is no really stair step way in that,
No, there
you
isn't.
know. So there's not really other experiences before that, I feel like a lot of our discussions in today's conversation and the one from a couple weeks ago, so these last two episodes are definitely ones that are unique. maybe on the surface there's some commonality to them, but I think when you really start to sit down and look at it, there's a million ways to slice it, go through it, and the experiences that you can just sit out there and think about, and the variables to everyone's story is, I think, just one of the real big benefits out of this. And that goes in, I think, to one of the last points we had to talk about. That is, I think all three of us had, I kind of looped it into three things, but how are we handling faith, growth, and moving on without letting go? And I kind of put all of those together, even though faith, I think, is maybe the outlier of the two, but that's something we go through so much, is like, how has the faith journey been? If there is one, I know we've talked about it a little bits in parts, but um, I think is there anything else on the faith spectrum that we feel is worth sharing here today? Um, the growth, I think, can be looked at in a lot of different angles. So maybe to put the growth in a more um, focused conversation, is the growth is us as individuals, of like coming out of that fog, out of the survival mode, out of the um almost like that, like you're waking up and like
Yeah.
doing that kind of like morning
Yeah.
stretch and try to like come to the day and like, what time is it? Like that's the part of the growth I'm in right now, not so much the fog, not so much survival mode, but like I'm kind of accepting of the reality, or more um engaged in the presence and in the now. But I just think talking about the growth that we learn from that. But what about growth, as us as individuals, has been tough about facing and coming to grips with?
I guess one thing, and I kind of think you started it with part of the question, was, the moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And, when Tay's mom passed about 100 days before she did, conversations we would have, and we would talk about, well, someday we want to move forward, we won't move on, because if we don't, if we move on, we've left him in the past. If
Right.
we move
Mhm.
forward, we're bringing him with
Mhm.
us. And that's something that, obviously, then after Tay passed, that I really had have kept in my mind. And, I look at, even in these recent periods of birthday season or reflection seasons into school years, you're looking at the first day of school versus last day of school. You see how much the kids have grown. And so that, to me, physically, their time, their growth has really been like, wow, it almost feels like it, still feels like yesterday, but it also, when I look at that, I was like, man, over 3 years have elapsed, and this is, what I've done. And I think you were kind of you kind of hit on a good point. Like, I think I'm probably to the point where I feel like I'm, if if you're using the same analogy of stretching, getting up in the morning, I feel like I'm probably getting my feet on the ground.
Mhm.
Um, and I think one of the biggest challenges, probably, and it honestly relates back to living that survival mode, is how hard it was to get your feet on the ground those
Yeah.
first couple days. And not even just a couple days, but just that first initial survival
Yeah.
mode of the grief, and what the heck are we going to do next, and all that. So, but I do feel like I have grown. You know, I accepted the reality, based on my faith, and I can wish all day for her to come back. She's not gonna, that's just not how it works.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so I've been able to compartmentalize. Yes, there's things that I miss tremendously, and I mean, that's that's to me the obvious part of it, but the ability to keep moving forward and keep, trying to better myself, you know, make myself a little bit better today than I was yesterday in whatever aspect that is. And knowing that, 35 years old, I mean, hopefully I get to live this world for another, at least 35 or 55 years or whatever it may be, but not trying to get stuck in the rut.
Mhm.
And it's so easy to do, and it's okay. And there's rutful days, I guess, so to
Sure.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Days where you don't want to put your feet on the ground, but
You'd rather stay in bed.
yeah, but uh, I just it's it's also allowing myself to sit back and reflect on where I've been, a little bit of what I thought I'd be at this point, and where I can still go. And again, going back to what I said earlier, giving myself grace. That's probably been the thing that has allowed me to grow the most. Is some days you wake up and you just don't do life very well. It
Yeah.
just everything's hard, nothing feels right or whatever, and it's like, okay, we can have those days. um, and just continuing to press on and know, time. I know the what Tay liked in me, or what why she fell in love with me and why she wanted to have kids with me and raise kids together and all that. And so there's a little bit of that's kind of a, whether you call it, I think the spectrum thing was a
Mhm.
good
Yeah.
analogy, because it obviously shifts during whatever
Yeah.
season of life, but
Sure.
kind of knowing that I'm staying within
Mhm.
a guardrails, or staying within 2 points. You're gonna bounce off the side. You might get out of the. You might get in the guard or a little bit past it a little bit, but you're still. You know that's, if I'm continuing to grow and thinking about those things, then I think down the road I'm gonna be the best dad I can be, and
Yeah.
potential husband again, or
Yeah.
son, whatever it is. So
And I think that's a great point because for me, I am without a doubt a way better person, like infinitely better person, and can't even begin to define how much of a better father I am because of Leslie's impact.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So to think that's going to stop is ridiculous.
Honestly, I feel like it's probably more like, oh, now I've got real pressure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got to I've
Yeah.
got to coach myself through this.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. And I think that is whether we talk about in the next relationship, like whatever, I shouldn't say, whatever girl ends up dating me down the road.
Is lucky enough to date you.
Yeah. But like to understand the impact, like they're going to like me enough to date me and spend time with me and all of those things. What they, I hope, will understand is like Leslie had a big impact in the way I'm treating you,
Right.
Right.
you
I
know,
am who I am today
because of her.
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
years of the time.
And the way I want to
the-
raise my
yeah.
kids is going to be
Yeah.
the impact of her. And that part of her is always going to be involved in me moving forward and the
Yeah.
people I engage with. And I think that's the moment we have to feel the need to compress that, to hide that, to question that, becomes a point where we have every right as widows and widowers to think is what I'm in right, you know, whether
Yeah.
that be the way we raise our kids, the way we act around our friends, the way we are in a relationship, um, how we need to grieve and help in maybe some cases like our children get through it is how we feel is best and we feel is how we need to and how our maybe even our spouse would appreciate us doing it. And I
And
think
it might be right and it might be wrong, but it's the way we're going to do it right now.
and I don't even think it might be right, it might be wrong. Because I think the better way to say that in my opinion is perceptions are going to be different of how
Sure.
I
Yes.
handled it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, we're not talking about something being right or wrong in how we handle our grief and processing
Yes.
through that.
Correct.
People's perceptions are going to be different because of what they went through themselves in their own grief journey, their own experience, or what they lack of in that experience yet. And um, the vulnerability we choose to show as grievers will only, I think, help those that haven't gone through it yet. And just another reason why, it's so great to have both of you once again for sitting down here today and sharing these stories and having these discussions about some lighthearted aspects of it, but then some serious conversations about it. Um, so before we kind of start to wrap up, because I think we've had some good conversations since we talked last, since talking today, going around the horn, since baseball season's in full swing. Is there anything new that's come up that you think that's worth discussing, Mike, or anything you haven't gotten to say yet that is worth sharing?
I haven't cried a lot. I haven't. It's not that I've not had emotion. I've not allowed it. It has not manifested. I don't know what the right way to say that is, but I haven't. I watched, of all things, and it's only been 3 days, but it feels like it's been a month and a half. I watched the Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Fred Rogers
Mr.
documentary.
Rogers thing. Mhm.
I should have watched that when it came out. It has offered me a perspective that I had lost with the world. I have found it very easily, if I'm looking back, I've been very jaded through my grief walk.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to say it. I've been jaded. I've been very cautious. But given the tumultuousness of the world that we
Mhm.
live in today, it's really easy to get caught up in all the negative.
Yeah.
And I cried like a baby. I mean, it's the first time since the immediate aftermath of Marcy's death that I've really experienced that kind of
Yeah.
emotion. And it's allowed me to say, wait, look, there is good in the world. It's let me reframe. Yeah, times are crazy and the world is often very scary. There's a lot of good.
Mhm.
And just this is Thursday, so it was Sunday night, Monday night, I watched this. Really, I feel like in me, going back to the growth, the last 3 years have been a lot of roller coaster for me.
Mhm.
Even as far as growth is concerned, right? You get to a period, you think, oh, I really feel good about where I'm at in life. Where I'm at in my growth, my grief, and then something
And then a
happens.
Facebook memory pops up.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah, and then you're like, oh, whoa, nope. Yeah. So I there's going to be more downs, but I feel like I'm in and up.
Yeah.
I mean, right now
And I think we got to take those ups when they
right.
happen.
I mean,
It's like we let the downs take us for a ride.
sure, yeah.
The ups can sure take us too, right?
Yeah, let the ups go, because I think
Yeah.
that's where we start to, as people going through their grief journey, learn to balance, kind of like how we started out this episode, balancing the really heavy stuff and the really joyful stuff. And that's where we find to hold space for both. to hold that. It's not that grief and joy are the spectrum, maybe. It's more vulnerability and empathy,
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
because like you have to learn to be empathetic towards other people's grief to understand your grief better and the next experience you have with grief. So I mean, there's a part where really
Yeah.
joy, grief, empathy, and vulnerability play like in this spectrum. And I'm gonna have to go back and I gotta like draw this out or something. But it's just I think it's an interesting concept
Yeah.
of how there's you can understand there's no finish line. It's just evolving in those
And
feelings.
it also becomes easier because
Mhm.
I know that you two have experienced similar things, but we all, back to that whole everyone's grief journey is very different. It's not right. It's not wrong.
Mhm. Sorry,
So I can look at what you or someone else, and this doesn't even relate to grief, and I can think, man, that is absolute insanity. The way so and so is parenting their child, or the way you appear to be dealing with grief, or the way someone else does, and I can think, man, that is just absolute insanity. But I also know that it's what you're feeling,
Mhm.
it's what that person is feeling, it's what you're feeling, it's that is your experience, and I can't take that from you. But to the empathy part,
Yeah.
I mean that is what you're going through. So, being that I'm going through the things, and I think the grief gives you a different spin on that. To
Mhm.
your point, um,
Yeah, until
it
you learn to become more vulnerable,
yeah,
like you can just say, I'm sad, I'm having a bad day, leave me alone. But to talk a little bit more and understand yourself more of why you feel those ways, you start to show more vulnerability. And people, when you're talking with them, share their experiences with them. And that's where your empathy grows,
yeah,
because you start to hear other people's journeys that are paralleled to yours, not compared to, not the same, but just, hey, here was a journey that they feel
yeah,
was similar
right,
and where they wanted to try to connect with you. And that's where we start to then build
yeah.
that place of holding it all together.
I mean,
It's
we don't all have to do things the same, and that's okay. That's actually great.
mhm. Hey, could you imagine how well I didn't realize this till I was doing some studies not too long ago. And I think it was in English, it was over in England where it started, or Ireland, it was somewhere in that part of Europe, that the widow or widower would wear black for a year. The female would wear
Veil,
the
yeah,
veil
sure.
for a year in public
Wow,
to show they were not approachable to another male. That was kind of like, so as long as the
hands
veil
off.
was down, hands off. I think it was society saying you couldn't do it in a year, and then it eventually evolved to when the woman stopped wearing the veil, that's when she was comfortable enough with being approached.
Okay,
And then it's evolved into like, we have to wear this invisible veil.
yeah,
We feel guilt and shamed about having to say we still feel uh, a certain way when we really shouldn't. Like
and the only people who know we have it on is us.
100%. What is it, like that depression medicine where they walk around with the cardboard mask in front of
Yeah,
them? It's like, still be happy when you're not, it's like they
yeah.
show a smiley face. And um, okay, so those were some great points, Mike, and I think a really good conversation. Shane, going to you, we've talked about a lot. Is there anything else new that's came to mind or from your heart that's worth sharing, or you think, a story or opinions of ours you want to get before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think of it, we've hit on it multiple times, but it's a continuous journey. It's different each day. It's different, heck, by the hour, by the activity you're going to. Um, I've continued to challenge myself to continue to grow, continue to be, present in society, present within my friends groups, present obviously with my kids and in my family, and showing up. I think the piece on the vulnerability and empathy. I mean, there's been you know parents of friends that folks I went to high school with that have passed recently, and it's it puts you back in those shoes, and it's not this, it's different, but it's each situation is different, but it brings back the raw memories,
Yeah.
and how scared or how confused I was at those times, and then they're they're in those shoes.
Yeah.
What's the right thing to say? What's the right thing to do?
Takes you right back there.
Yeah, but it also shows, what it goes on every day.
Mhm.
It's part of our life,
Yeah.
and so it helps, I guess, in a weird way, kind of prove, okay, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to smile. It's okay to find things that are you know bringing you happiness and bringing the kids happiness and driving driving us forward. Because I mean, if we sit back and think about everything from a negative aspect, like, really, what does that get us? And it doesn't doesn't get us where we want to be any sooner.
Mhm.
I mean, and
Right.
what we want is not obtainable. So, living our life through faith, and knowing
Yeah.
that if we do that, then we'll see her again, along with all of our other, loved ones that were on the same journey. So, it just, I used to be way more, what I would say, serious, or, maybe corporate mind driven, but it's like, what, each day I get up, I mean, I've got a job to do, both at home and at work, and do it to my best of the ability. If we can smile, I think
Yeah.
back to the Jimmy Valvano speech, right?
Yeah.
If we can, what is it, if we can laugh, we can smile, we can cry in a day, you've had a full day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And accepting when that happens,
Mhm.
and being happy with that, and very happy with, I think there was a part or point right after tragedy struck, that you're like, how will I ever be happy again?
Yeah.
How will I ever
I'm
want
never
to?
going to smile again.
Yeah. And I I've got some really strong family and friends around me that have you know pushed me when I probably didn't want to be pushed out of my comfort zone. I mean, 2 months after Tay passed, I was supposed to be on a golf trip in the Ozarks, and all those guys on the golf trip said, we want you to be part of it. We're coming. We understand you're not in a place to leave your kids for
Mm.
a couple days, but if we were able to change it to Central Illinois, would you be able to join for a couple days to play?
Yeah.
And understand you may not want to do all of it, but
Right.
and so it's like people that have stepped up like that, and kind
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
giving you just a little bit of a nudge, and show in it, and those memories come out. Those happy times happen, and I think the, the core of it all is Tate and I had the conversation due to her mom's passing, and it was, whatever happens, whenever it happens, not expecting it would be. I mean, we had this conversation on a Saturday night. She passed on a Wednesday, and we'd had it before, but the last time we had it was on Saturday night. She passed the next Wednesday. Whatever happens, I want you to be happy. I want you to, and it was mutual. I want you to be happy. I want whoever to may be involved that might, be in the kids' lives. I want, if they're a positive influence, if they're love the kids as much as they can as their own, or their own nephew, or own whatever that part of whatever that relationship may be, then I want you to pursue that. I want
Yeah.
you to have those kind of people in your life, and I want you to be happy. And just, life's too short to be mad all the time and miss and skip things. So
Yeah.
I still, I know, back to the question about we're in growth, or the analogy of getting out of bed. I know there's still work to be done, but I do feel happy and I feel accomplished with where I am. And I know that there'll be more growing, there'll be more hills to climb, and there'll be, roller coaster rides to go down that sometimes you'll be like, wow, we're back in it again. But I mean, that's the ups and downs in life. That's,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, not every I'm big into that running right now. Not every run is a good run.
right.
In fact, I've struggled to get any good runs in lately. Like I struggled to get much further than
You're
3
getting runs
miles.
in,
And
just not good
yeah,
runs.
and like yesterday I went off and had one of the best runs I've had in like 2 months, and almost ripped off like my third best 5K time, my second best 2 mile run, and just it was great, and I don't need to figure out how to do that again. I just need to be happy that
That it
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
yeah, that I got that
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
and that I found it, and I know it's there, and I'm not, nothing's wrong. And no, you made some great points there, and man, guys, what some conversations we've had over a span of like 4 hours, like
Yeah.
between the
Yeah.
two episodes,
Yeah.
and I hope our listeners and viewers found some benefit from this today, even if it's just one line or one takeaway. I Your time will be well spent listening to this today. I hope you will find. Um, with that, I hope to bring, you know, these guys back for another conversation down the road in one of the later seasons. We're wrapping up season 1 here in the next couple minutes with you as you're listening. Season 2 is going to be coming right around the corner. I've already started to record season 2 and have things in line. Season 2 is going to be looking at my grief with things like the boys and schoolwork, managing my job, the house, relationships. And so we're really looking forward to diving into that and kind of sharing some of my external parts of my grief journey, having some roundtable discussions and interviews like we've had these last two. Um, and so just doing more of that, to have people like Mike and Shane on here, to have more guests and to do more episodes. I know you've heard it at the end of some of my podcasts through the messaging. We are looking for supporters like you to help support the show. There is cost behind editing these episodes and getting them out there and distributing them. I've just because of my time availability as a working dad, I've had to hire a team help with this, and they're amazing and they're awesome. Um, but if you know a way to support us, or maybe even at least support Leslie's endowments, or maybe it's other endowments that you know of, we'd sure love the support for the show, so I can continue to bring guests on and help them share their story and share their grief journey, so that someone else can take a piece of it and help them grow. So check us out. Check us out our social media pages in between seasons, in between episodes. We'll post pieces of motivation. We'll ask questions. We'll look for show engagements and ideas. So we really hope to be there. Thank you so much for joining us for season 1. So much for today. I haven't sat down yet to take, just before we got started today, I showed you guys like the trailer preview that's coming out for the announcement of the announcement of the podcast is coming out next week on the anniversary of Leslie and I being married. We started
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about milestones. So
Yep.
I'm going to be announcing this episode in less
Was
than
that
a
intentional?
yeah,
Okay. Good.
yeah.
Awesome.
It was the very first time I was trying to release it last year on our anniversary. Then I shot for the anniversary this year, and we just missed that. So the anniversary of her passing
Yes.
in
Yes.
April,
Yeah.
and went for the wedding anniversary. The people that are helping me produce this are actually getting married next week as well.
I think it's no less fitting.
Yeah, I think it's really good, and it's going to come out later in June. So I hope you've enjoyed it. For those that have been along for all of the episodes, I've been honored to share my story and my pain and my grief, because I know what I've gone through is not specific. I'm not the only one who's gone through these feelings and been at these crossroads. And these last 2 episodes alone show that we are all on similar journeys and we come to the same crossroads. They just look a little bit different. They have a little bit different vegetation growing around them. They have a little bit different traffic that's coming around you. But we will get through it. And it's because of the people around us, the communities we have a part of. And I hope this podcast and people have a chance to be a part of your community. So thank you again. My name's Tom Van Ness. Mike, Shane, thank you so much, guys,
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
for
thank you.
sharing your story. My story is only like one little itty bitty piece of something. You guys add another level to it. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. Check us out on social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. My name's Tom Van Ness. I'm your guide, your host for Guide Through Grief. Remember, you got this. I got this. We all got this. We'll see you next season. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope today's episode will help guide you forward. My goal for this podcast has always been to create a safe place for people who are navigating their grief journey to lean on one another and share their own experiences. I ask that you share, subscribe, like, and comment so we know how to best support you. Finally, we rely on listeners like you to help keep this journey going. Guide Through Grief is dependent on the support and contributions from you. Please consider supporting the show and our cause. Visit our social media pages or click the link in our description for more information. Thank you.